Briefly, you may be aware that this statement is the government's revised forecasts of the budget deficit and the budget and GDP trends in the next 5-year period over the life of this Parliament, as well as certain tweaks and changes that happen every so often to give effect to the forecasts on the budget. Over the course of the next 5 years, the major theme here is that the budget deficit that we currently have, which at the moment is running at around £73.5 billion according to the latest PSBR requirement, will fall over the next few years progressively to reach a £10.1 billion surplus by 2020. It's forecast to fall from £73.5 billion this year to £49.9 billion next. In financial year 17 to 18 will reduce further to 24.8, and in 19 a deficit of 4.6 billion. This assumes that there's very even GDP growth, that the economy will grow 2.4% this year, 2.5% next, and between 2.4 and 2.3% in the remaining years, which is a very rosy assumption. Assumes very flat, even GDP growth, which may or may not be forthcoming. I think the assumption is particularly forward-looking in respect of next year, when we're expecting to see more of the impact of the global slowdown that's been in evidence for most of this year. We've now, I suppose, in a period of time where the government is trying to get the deficit down without making large adjustments to the taxation system or the welfare system, but sort of hoping that the improvement in the economy and the rise in GDP will result in the deficit being eliminated naturally without any large changes. It also assumes £5 billion is found via chasing people not paying taxes, and there are other sort of rather big assumptions as well. There have been changes to the welfare, some small tweaks to welfare. The government's no longer going to pay housing benefit to people who leave the country for greater than a month, so this was to tackle the issue where you had people on housing benefit who were going on extended holidays and still benefiting from housing benefits, so that's going to end. There's a rise in the basic state pension of £3.35 to £119.30 as of next year, so that's good for people on a pension. The forecast is that NHS spending will rise from £101 billion this year to £120 by 2020, which is above the rate of inflation. And the government is also committed to spending £1 billion on 9 new prisons, and closing Holloway Prison, which is the prison for women. So that's going to be, I suppose, certain tweaks to welfare and other spending plans. Overall, this is a government committed to doing something about what's become a property problem, where younger people these days struggle to get on the property ladder, and in many cases delay buying a property for a considerable time. The government is committed to build 400,000 new affordable homes by 2020, partly via the release of public land that's owned by the government, that will be used to build 160,000 of those 400. There will be an extension of the Help to Buy scheme, with encouraging people who live in London with a 5% deposit. They will now be able to get an interest-free loan of up to 40% of the new home. Previously it was 20%. This is obviously structured as an equity type loan. In addition, the government is also going to burden the buy-to-let sector with more taxes, so discouraging buying interest from buy-to-let and focusing more on owner-occupiers. So there's a 3% extra tax on properties purchased where that property purchase is a second home or a buy-to-let home, and that should raise £1 billion. These changes will have already impacted the agents and the home builders, as buy-to-let is being seen as a target increasingly for the government. The government proposed to end the tax relief on interest on buy-to-let homes in the budget, and this further measure will reduce the profitability and increase the cost of buy-to-let. So this is this has caused a sell-off in home builders and property agents. Additionally, the government is extending the small business relief scheme for another year, which is generally positive for small companies, and the targeted 18% corporate tax rate will stay. So overall, I see this autumn statement as a bit of a mixed bag, really. I'm a little bit cautious about the assumptions of the budget deficit coming down so quickly, because it's based on optimistic GDP reads. I'm a bit cautious on the plans in the property area, which I think could very well trigger a reversal in property quite quickly. Overall, though, I'm hoping that the budget and the autumn statement, in fact, does not have too much of a dampening effect on the market, which today is up about 1%. As we've had quite a few issues to contend with already this year, and so need some positivity at some point. So that's how I'll end this. It's a bit of a mixed bag, I would say, overall. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your time.